Hey guys, tonight we wake up beside a goat. Not just any goat. This one's named Snorri, and he has a mild sinus issue and a tendency to nibble your blanket while you sleep. You're lying on a straw mattress. If we're being generous, basically a sack of prickly grass that squeaks and smells like damp fur. Your feet are cold. Your hands are colder. Someone nearby coughs, the kind of cough that makes you think, yup, that one's gonna die before planting season. Welcome to your life in a Viking longhouse. Outside, the wind howls like it's mad at you. Inside, there's the comforting scent of smoked fish, old, sweat, and something vaguely fungal. You hear snoring, loud, robust, deeply phlegmy snoring from at least 3 directions. One might be your cousin. One might be your actual grandmother. The last is probably your own chest. You sit up, trying not to hit your head on the wooden beam overhead. You fail. It's okay. It happens every morning. Your breath fogs in the frigid air. Somewhere in the corner, a dog with one eye lifts its head and sneezes, then goes back to whatever dreams dogs have in 1873 CE. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're watching from, and what time it is in your part of Midgard. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You pull on your wool tunic. It's itchy and smells like old owl, but it's yours. At your feet are your boots thick, worn. One of them has a dried mushroom squashed inside because you were too tired last night to care. A rat skitters past. You give it a nod. It ignores you. Classic rat. In the dim morning light slicing through the smoke hole in the roof, you rise like a reluctant frost giant. Your bones crack. You stretch. You mutter something unflattering about Odin under your breath. Time to survive another day in the frozen north. You're not nobility. You don't have gold rings braided into your beard or silk from Byzantium. You're just a decent warrior with okay aim and better than average teeth. But in your village, that still gets you free porridge once a week and a deeply meaningful eyebrow raise from the blacksmith's daughter. You trudge outside into the kind of cold that slaps your eyeballs. Snow crunches underfoot. Someone down the path is already yelling about lost chickens. And honestly, that's probably going to be the high point of their week. You squat by the frozen stream to splash your face with what technically counts as water, and immediately regret being alive. Now, if you're wondering about toilets, you sweet summer child, there are none. Not in the modern sense. There's a spot behind the chicken coop that everyone pretends doesn't smell. You go there, dig a little with a stick, and then pray to the gods that nobody makes eye contact. It's a communal moment. A deeply unromantic one. Breakfast. If you're lucky, it's barley porridge with chunks of last week's dried cod. If you're less lucky, it's just the barley. You eat while standing, because the longhouse only has 2 stools and one of them is broken. A toddler runs past holding an axe. No one blinks. Your neighbor John joins you, slapping your back hard enough to jostle your spine. Snow's thick this morning, he says, because that's Viking for hi. You grunt in agreement. Bjorn is a solid man, broad, heavily bearded, once fought a swan for 3 hours during mating season. He still won't talk about it. The village is already awake. Smoke curls from thatched roofs, and you can hear the blacksmith hammering something important sounding. Kids run barefoot despite the frost because their toes don't feel anything yet. Dogs bark, cows moo. A very drunk man sings a saga to no one. Your job today is simple: don't die, don't start a blood feud, and maybe help repair the palisade before the next wandering bandits arrive. Oh, and prepare for the thing. Your village's legal gathering / yelling match / feast. It's next week, and someone still needs to butcher a pig. The longhouse you sleep in is built with timber, mud, and the vague hope that trolls don't hate you too much. There's one main room, a central fire pit, and benches along the walls for sitting, sleeping, or dramatic sighing. You share it with 8 people, 3 goats, 1 cat, and whatever spectral presences may or may not haunt the shadows. It's cozy. In a drafty, mildly haunted, everyone smells like fish whey. Sleeping. That's done in shifts. You curl up under furs, usually fully clothed. The fire keeps the frostbite at bay, but does nothing for your spine. If you're lucky, no one with consumption coughs directly into your mouth while you're dreaming about mead and moderately clean socks. Sometimes you dream of warmer places, like Francia, where people apparently have stone buildings and cheese. Or the lands even farther south, where the sun lingers and olives grow on trees like little salty treasures. But then someone rolls over and elbows you in the spleen, and you're back in the here and now with your goat snoring reality. Your clothes are layers of wool and linen, mostly in shades of mud and other mud. Your belt holds your knife, a pouch of salt, and a very tiny hammer charm for Thor, because you never know when you'll need divine smiting on short notice. Your cloak is pinned with an iron brooch, circular, heavy, possibly stolen from a monastery during last summer's voyage. And yes, you've been on raids. Everyone over 15 has. It's not glamorous. It's wet, loud, and smells like terror and sheep. But it's also how you afford luxuries like soap, and silver, and trauma. You hear someone mention the word berserker, and you instinctively glance around. Those guys are a lot. You've trained with a few. Big men, twitchy eyes, smell like mushrooms and despair. They fight naked sometimes, which is both horrifying and oddly majestic, like watching a nightmare goose. Historians still argue whether berserkers were just very angry men, or if they actually entered some kind of altered state. Some say mushrooms were involved. Others point to extreme breathwork, rhythmic chanting, or maybe just unresolved mother issues. Either way, you don't want one at your family reunion. Today is quiet, though. No raids, no wolves, just chores and the vague threat of surprise frostbite. You help stack firewood, haul water from the stream, and avoid eye contact with the woman whose chicken you definitely stepped on last week. You also carve a bit. Your best friend makes comms out of antler, and you're helping shape the teeth. It's delicate work, weirdly peaceful. Plus, you get to keep one for yourself. And yes, you'll need it. Soon. Night falls early. The sun gives up around mid-afternoon, leaving you in a blue, gray gloom that makes everyone look vaguely undead. You huddle around the fire, sipping thin broth and listening to old Godrun tell a story about a man who married a seal. No one questions it. Seals are very charismatic, apparently. Later, you lie on your straw bed again, tucked under furs, listening to the crackle of fire and distant owls. Someone farts softly. You consider tomorrow. There will be more snow, more wood to split, and maybe a wrestling match to settle a stolen sheep accusation. You'll have to comb your beard in the morning. Can't look like a savage, after all. And so, as you drift off, snug beside Snorri and the snoring of a dozen lungs, you take comfort in the simplicity of your Viking life. Cold, hard, full of cod, but yours. You wake up with hay stuck to your face, and the vague memory of a dream in which Thor was deeply disappointed in your posture. The fire in the center of the longhouse has turned to faint glowing embers, and your breath still fogs in the chilly morning air. You roll over, wince as your shoulder protests yesterday's log hauling, and hear Snorri the goat sneeze directly onto your foot. An omen, probably. You sit up slowly, swaddled in furs and the musk of 20 humans, who all think they invented personal space. Today's task: grooming. Because if you're going to be a Viking warrior, you need to look like one. And that starts with combing your face. It's not vanity. It's survival. Your beard is your badge. Your beard is your war mask. Your beard is, if you're being honest, kind of your personality. So, before your first bowl of porridge, you kneel by the water trough, stare at your icy reflection, and begin the ritual. You unwrap your antler comb, carved lovingly with tiny spirals and a suspiciously well done rendering of a duck. You drag it slowly through your beard, untangling twigs, crumbs, and a feather you don't remember acquiring. The process is oddly meditative. Your scalp tingles. You hum a bit. You feel noble. This is where it all begins. The Viking grooming toolkit isn't just some afterthought. It's sacred. You've got tweezers. You've got ear spoons. You've got tiny little razors to clean under your nails and detail your mustache into something that says, "I have tasted blood and I moisturize." Historians agree, Vikings were shockingly into hygiene. Sure, they lived in homes full of animals, and yes, there was a lot of dirt and blood involved in daily activities, but their grooming habits put some medieval nobles to shame. Saxon monks complained bitterly about how clean and attractive Norsemen were, and how their hair always smelled like imported herbs. The women liked them too much. One chronicler sniffed, probably while scratching lice from his scalp. You finish your beard. You part it slightly in the middle. Today's going to be a practical day, after all, and rub in a little bear fat to keep the tips from splitting. There's no jojoba oil in 9th century Norway, but bear fat does the job, and smells like dominance. You wrap your hair in a leather cord to keep it from tangling while training. Not everyone bothers, but you're not trying to look like you got pulled through a hedge backwards. Plus, you heard the Jarl's niece noticed your braid last week. She said you looked less tragic. You'll take it. You also clean your teeth. That's right, tiny twig toothbrushes, and even some version of mint paste. Your breath might still smell like smoked fish and fermented goat's milk, but your molars gleam with pride. Now, let's talk eyebrows. Vikings didn't mess around. You've seen men singe them into shape over the fire. You just pluck them slightly with tweezers made of hammered bronze. A clean line communicates self, respect, and a deep willingness to cleave a man in twain. You glance over at Jorn, who is attempting to smooth his beard by pressing it between two flat stones. It's not working. He looks like an angry badger in a wind tunnel, looking sharp. You say. He grunts, still wrestling with his beard's natural inclination toward chaos. Here's the thing about Viking grooming. It wasn't just aesthetics. It was intimidation. Picture a warband landing on your shore. 30 giant, screaming men leaping off a boat, all with glossy beards, symmetrical haircuts, and flawless skin. You'd surrender too, or at least ask what conditioner they used. There are even some fringe theories that grooming played a part in their psychological warfare. A few historians, mostly the eccentric ones with windblown notes and ink stains on their faces, suggest that pre-battle grooming rituals acted like ancient armor spells. The cleaner the warrior, the more sacred his body, the better his chances of avoiding death, or at least lice. Not everyone agrees, of course. Some argue Vikings were just incredibly vain. Others think their grooming gear was a side effect of trade with the East, gleaned from exposure to Arabic and Byzantine customs. Historians still argue whether it was faith, fashion, or sheer competitiveness that drove the Viking obsession with hygiene. What we do know is these people washed way more than their European neighbors, and they judged you for it. There's a saga, a dramatic poem kind of like a medieval soap opera, where a warrior insults another man by saying his beard is dull as cow droppings. That was it. That was the insult. In Viking culture, that's the kind of burn that starts a 5-generation blood feud. Now that you're preened and primed, you check your reflection again, this time in the side of a polished bronze shield. You tilt your head. You smolder a little. It's working. Clothes come next. Under your tunic, you wear a thin linen undershirt, which helps absorb sweat and theoretically makes you less stinky. Over that, you wear your best wool. It's dyed with onion skin and madder root into a color you'd call earthy rage. Your belt is tight. Your boots are stuffed with rabbit fur. Your cloak is pinned with a brooch, shaped like a wolf howling at the moon. Pure drama. You step outside to the admiration of no one, except a child who immediately throws snow at your face. That's fine. Greatness is rarely recognized in its own time. You join a group of other warriors near the training field. Everyone is at various stages of battle prep. One guy is sharpening his axe with a whetstone and humming the death of Olaf. Another is painting little runes on his arms in wood, blue spirals that supposedly make him invincible. You don't have the heart to tell him he spelled goat wrong. A new recruit, maybe 15, approaches you. His beard is 3 hairs long, his helmet too big, and his boots are on the wrong feet. But he's got that gleam in his eye. That, I saw a raven yesterday and took it as a sign. Kind of gleam. You pat him on the shoulder and whisper, "Calm before you conquer, kid." He nods solemnly and runs off to find his grooming kit. It's a slow morning. You practice some spear throws, spar with a left-handed axe wielder, and take a break to fix the broken fence that keeps the cows from wandering into the training field. Nothing ruins combat flow like a startled cow. In the afternoon, you sit by the fire pit with Jorn, sipping warm mead and comparing mustache curls. He once tried to shape his into little horns. It didn't work. Now he just lets them hang like sleepy eels. "Ever braid your beard?" he asks. You nod. "Once. Got stuck in my own chainmail." He grunts. A shared moment of beard trauma. You both look up as a woman passes by carrying a basket of laundry. Her silver hair is wrapped neatly, and her eyes glint with quiet judgment. She glances at your beard, then at John's. You swear you see the faintest nod of approval in your direction. Victory. As the sun dips low, you light a small oil lamp and comb your beard once more before dinner, not because you need to, because it's what warriors do. Even if dinner is just boiled roots and dried herring again. Even if tomorrow you might get stabbed, stomped by a horse, or freeze mid-battle because your sock tore. You'll look good doing it. The third morning begins with a scream. Not yours, thankfully, though you've definitely had your share of that lately. No, this one is distant, throaty, and very likely part of the local rooster's new dramatic flair. You blink awake in your pile of furs, swatting at a moth and remembering, faintly, that today is training day. You rise with a grunt and a cracking noise that may or may not have come from your spine. Snorri the goat is still asleep, his chin resting on your ankle like a grotesquely warm ankle sock. You peel yourself out of bed and stagger toward the door of the longhouse, pausing only to bump your head on the same low beam as always. You consider insulting the beam. You don't, because, in Viking culture, even objects might have spirits. Outside, the sky is a solid sheet of gray. You chew some cold barley mash and stare blankly at the horizon. It's time to train, but not just in the logs and yell at clouds kind of way. No, today's training involves weapons, ritual, screaming, possibly mushrooms, all part of preparing your body and soul for glorious battle. Or, if not glorious, at least confusingly loud. You and the other warriors gather at the edge of the village where the trees thin out and the earth is stamped flat from years of boot prints and blood spatters. The training field, equal parts sacred ground and accidental graveyard. The first exercise, axe throwing. Each man or woman, depending on the clan, steps forward and hurls their axe at a target shaped like a Christian monk. It's mostly symbolic, unless you're angry. Then it's deeply therapeutic. You watch Jorn step up, muscles flexing, brows furrowed, and release his axe with a roar. It sails, spins, and lands right between the painted monk's eyes. Everyone cheers, except for the new recruit, who gasps in horror. Did we just kill a painting? You step forward. The axe is warm in your hand, its hilt smooth from years of use. You breathe in deeply, exhale slowly, and let it fly. Your axe thunks into the target's chest. A little low, but passable. You nod to no one in particular and walk back to the line. Next comes sparring. Leather shields, wooden swords, and the kind of flailing that looks ridiculous until someone breaks a rib. You square off against a one-eyed warrior named Raffen, who smells like onions and victory. He lunges first, you dodge. He spins, you duck. He fakes a stumble, you fall for it. Flat on your back, you grunt. He grins. You sit up, spitting out moss. Nice move. He shrugs. Learned it from a sheep. You never question that sort of thing. But Viking training isn't just brawn. There's strategy too. Hours are spent arranging formations with little carved stones on animal hides. If they come from the east, we flank. If they come from the west, we pretend to be drunk. If they come from the north, we run. Nobody comes from the north and lives. And then there's the chanting. Oh yes. Before battle, Many Vikings participated in intense rituals designed to psych themselves up and, depending on who you ask, channel the power of the gods, or maybe just their ancestors' unresolved rage. You join a circle of warriors standing barefoot in the snow. The elder, a woman with iron gray hair and runes inked across her cheeks, leads the chant. It starts low, almost a hum. You feel it in your chest more than your ears. It builds. Louder, faster, rhythmic. Your blood pulses. Your skin prickles. You are no longer cold. This is how you prepare your soul for war. And sometimes there are mushrooms. Not always. Not officially. But in some circles, particularly among berserkers, there's a tradition of consuming psychoactive plants. Fly agaric mushrooms being the most infamous. You've tried one. Once. Let's just say you ended up yelling at a tree you thought was your grandfather and tried to marry a barrel of salt fish. No one brings it up. You're grateful. Historians still argue whether the berserkers' infamous fury came from drugs, spiritual trance, or pure adrenaline. What's agreed upon is that when they fought, they entered a state of utter madness, biting their shields, screaming at the sky, and charging naked into enemy lines. And you've seen it. Last summer, during a raid along the Baltic coast, you fought beside a berserker named Ulf. He wore nothing but a bare pelt and the most terrifying grin you've ever seen. He howled like a wolf, sprinted into a wall of spears, and somehow emerged covered in blood, but completely unharmed. No one asked questions. He's still not allowed near goats. Back at training, you practice forming a shield wall. It's harder than it looks. You link arms, overlap shields, and try to move as one. It's like trying to teach a pack of wolves to ballroom dance. But when it works, it's a fortress of human rage and oak. Your muscles ache. Your hands blister. Your throat is hoarse from chanting. But you feel ready. You end the day with breathing exercises. Yes, really. Vikings believed in calming the breath, focusing the mind. Your elder teaches you to inhale deeply through the nose, hold it, exhale through the mouth. Repeat again, then scream as loud as you can. Balance. Back in the village, you wipe the sweat from your face and rinse your arms in freezing water. Your beard is wild, your tunic soaked. You feel alive. John stumbles over, his lips swollen. I think my sword hit me back. You nod. That means it likes you. He doesn't laugh. He's trying to find his front teeth in the snow. That night, you're too tired to eat. You collapse onto your bedroll, still in your clothes, your limbs twitching with phantom blows. Your dreams are strange. You're flying over fjords, chasing a raven that turns into your mother, who scolds you for slouching in battle. You awaken briefly to the sound of someone chanting softly in the corner. A young warrior practicing his pre-battle mantra. You smile and drift back to sleep. Tomorrow, maybe more training, maybe a raid, maybe just a lecture on how not to accidentally impale yourself. But tonight, you rest, sword by your side, heart full of fire, and beard unreasonably magnificent. You're jolted awake by the sound of drums. Not gentle, sleepy drums, like maybe someone softly tapping a butter churn. No, war drums. Big booming, gut, rattling drums that make your heart leap directly into your throat and shout. We're going sailing. You scramble upright, bumping into Snorri the goat, who lets out a scandalized bleat and bolts into the nearest child. People are running outside, shouting, slipping on ice, grabbing cloaks, and flinging themselves into battle prep mode. You grab your axe, your cloak, and, most importantly, your comm. Because if you die today, you are not going to hell with a tangled beard. You burst outside into a chaos of flapping sails, smoke from the cook fires curling into the dawn, and the high, metallic shriek of sword sharpening. The longship rocks at the shore, tethered like a feral dog barely holding back its instincts. You feel the pull in your gut. The sea is calling. So is your breakfast, which you forgot to eat, but there's no time now. You throw your gear onto the ship and leap aboard. The wooden deck is slick with frost, the planks worn smooth by centuries of boots, blood, and fish guts. You settle in beside Bjorn, who's already gnawing on a dried eel. You think it's Frankie again. He mutters, eel tail dangling from his mouth. Could be, you say, adjusting your belt, or somewhere with fewer angry monks. The Jarl stands tall at the prow, his wolf, fur cloak billowing like he's in a saga someone's definitely going to exaggerate later. He raises a horn, blows once, deep and long, and just like that, the ropes are loosed. The ship slides forward, cutting through the shallows like a blade. You're rowing before you know it. Rhythm, burn, breath, splash. 30 men and women pulling together, muscles straining, eyes locked on the horizon. The sea opens wide before you, grey and endless and humming with the kind of cold that makes your fingertips forget what life felt like. The first time you sailed like this, you cried, not from fear, but from the feel of it. The wind in your beard, the salt on your tongue, the way the ship seemed to live beneath you, groaning like a sleeping god. This is what it means to be Viking, to be hungry for what lies beyond. No one talks. The waves slap the hull. The sky broads. You pass an island where seals lounge like hairy little kings. One raises its head, snorts, and goes back to ignoring your existence. You row for hours, muscles screaming, back aching, blisters blooming like cursed roses on your hands. Eventually, the call goes out, sails up. The square sail unfurls, a giant, red, and white sheet catching the wind with a snap. You lean back, catching your breath, and let the sea carry you forward. Bjorn takes off his boots and wiggles his toes like they've just been released from prison. Someone begins to sing. A deep, rhythmic tune about Thor crushing giants and losing his favorite goat. You hum along. It keeps the fear at bay. Land appears on the horizon just as the sun begins to dip. Gold on the waves, cliffs in the distance, and the faintest outline of smoke curling into the sky. A village. Small, probably unguarded, hopefully full of grain silver, and people who don't know how to use a sword. You feel that thrill in your stomach again. Not bloodlust. Something older. The urge to take, to test, to prove. You check your gear. Axe sharp, shield solid. Beard brushed. Let's go. The Jarl raises a hand. The ship slows, gliding into a hidden cove. You all move silently, like wolves stalking a herd. You disembark into knee-deep water, boots sloshing, breath puffing, hearts pounding. Then, chaos. Screams. Dogs barking. Smoke. The hiss of arrows through the air. Your boots thump across wet earth as you charge toward a thatched roof hut. A man swings at you with a hoe. You knock it aside, press forward. You're not here to slaughter, just to conquer. Maybe. Depends on how mouthy he gets. The village surrenders faster than expected. A few guards, poorly armed, Run for the hills. Others kneel, hands up, already begging for mercy in a dialect you barely understand. One tries to bribe you with a wheel of cheese. You accept. Never say no to cheese during a raid. Your crew fans out, collecting valuables. A few coins, some livestock. One man finds a harp and insists he's now a bard. No one corrects him. You find a wooden comb, beautifully carved. You pocket it. Some gifts are personal. By nightfall, the village is subdued. Fires burn low. Prisoners sit huddled under guard, and the loot is sorted in piles. Silver here, tools there, one basket inexplicably full of decorative frogs. John sits next to you, chewing a stolen carrot. "I miss our soup," he says. You nod. "And my bed. And Snorri. Never thought I'd miss that goat." You sleep on the ship that night, curled on your cloak, the salty wind licking your face. The stars above are unfamiliar, foreign constellations. You wonder if they see the same things in the sky here. Gods, wolves, serpents, or just air stars. In your dream, you sail endlessly, the sea turning to snow beneath your ship. A raven perches on your shoulder and whispers riddles you can't remember when you wake. Morning comes. The village pays tribute, grain, cloth, some fine pottery that everyone immediately breaks. You take what you can, leave what you can't, and push off from the shore, hearts pounding with the rush of survival and a little guilt you won't speak aloud. The longship glides homeward. Quiet now. Tired. Sated. You sit at the stern, your fingers tracing the ridges of your comm. The sea smells like smoke and salt and stolen bread. Raiding isn't always glorious. It's cold. It's loud. It's often confusing. But it feels like something ancient in your bones. Like your ancestors are watching, nodding, silently judging your footwork. As the shore of your homeland appears again, misty and rough, you realize you've changed. Just a little. Not in the beard, not in the muscle, but in the silence between heartbeats, where fear and pride meet. You made it. You lived. You looked fantastic doing it. You wake up to the smell of roasted meat and the sound of a man telling a wildly inaccurate story about himself. Ah, yes. The feast after the raid. Your legs still ache from rowing. Your arms are one with your axe. You've got at least 3 new bruises you can't explain, and you may or may not have a stolen ceramic duck tucked in your satchel. But you're alive, home, and the mead is already flowing. You stagger out of the longhouse and stretch until your back pops like firewood in a hearth. Someone has already started a bonfire the size of a small funeral. Smoke curls into the evening sky, and a roasting boar turns slowly over the flames, spitting grace and pure joy. Around you, the village busses. Kids chase each other with sticks, pretending to be you. Elders argue about who first invented boats. Dogs bark at shadows. Chickens scream, but they always scream. You don't question it anymore. You pass by Bjorn, who's polishing his helmet with a scrap of fur and a concerning look of affection. He's got a bandage on his ear and a huge grin on his face. "I told them I fought 3 men at once," he says proudly. "You fought a ladder and lost." Exactly, but they don't know that. At the feast, everyone eats like it's their last day on Midgard. There's bread soaked in fat, dried fish rehydrated in mead, and something called blood pudding that you honestly just nod at and keep walking. A woman offers you a bowl of something mysterious. You ask no questions. It tastes like victory and mild regret. And the boasting, oh, the boasting. It's not enough to have done something. You must embellish. You must perform. You must lean in close, sip your mead, lower your voice, and say, "So there I was, surrounded by 50 guards, and my axe had just broken." You tell your version of the raid. You mention how you caught a spear mid-air. You didn't. Saved a child from a burning hut. It was a sheep, and how you found ancient treasures, technically a rusted spoon, but very shiny. The crowd nods, impressed. No one questions the timeline. You are a god, briefly. This is Viking social life. You don't have Facebook, but you do have a deeply competitive oral tradition. If your story is good enough, it gets repeated. If it's repeated enough, it becomes a saga. If it becomes a saga, your grandchildren might name their goats after you. Later, there's music, harps, drums, and a man with a flute made from a goose bone. He plays one note over and over until someone gently removes the flute and tells him to try again next year. People dance, not gracefully, not in time, but with conviction. You stomp your boots on the packed earth, waving your arms, shouting ancient phrases whose meanings are long forgotten, but still somehow insulting. Then come the contests. First, wrestling. Two sweaty men in tunics grab each other like angry walruses and flop around in the mud until someone gets pinned. Then stone. Lifting. You lift a boulder roughly the size of a terrified pig, while everyone claps and pretends you didn't grunt like you were giving birth. Finally, the insult contest. Yes, insult contests. You stand across from another warrior and try to destroy their soul using only words. It's glorious. Your beard looks like it lost a fight with moss. At least I don't polish my sword like it's a pet chicken. Your mother was a Saxon. Gasp. You win. You always win. You bow deeply while people pretend not to weep. As the night deepens and the stars swim across the sky like drunken fish, people start passing out in the dirt. Someone climbs onto the roof and declares themselves king. Two men arm wrestle over a duck. You just find a quiet spot near the fire, sip your last bit of mead, and stare into the flames. But you don't sleep yet, because tonight you guard your sword. This is tradition. After a raid, you sleep with your weapon, not metaphorically, literally, tucked beneath your arm like a lover or a very sharp, vengeful teddy bear. It's not just superstition, it's protection. You never know who drank too much, or which cousin is still mad about that comb you borrowed 2 winters ago. You lay on a bearskin rug inside the longhouse, sword pressed to your chest, cloak wrapped tight around your shoulders. The warmth of the fire touches your face. Outside, the wind rattles the shutters like a drunk, trying to come home quietly. You close your eyes and dream. You dream of wolves running across moonlit snow, of longships slicing through mist, of a great hall with golden pillars where fallen warriors laugh and drink forever. Valhalla maybe, or maybe it's just the mead. Either way, you smile in your sleep. You earned this. You wake up to the sound of someone yelling about a goat in court. Yes, court. Viking justice is here, and it smells like old cheese and vengeance. You roll over, your sword still in your arms like a clingy toddler, and blink at the chaos outside the longhouse. Villagers are gathering near the stone circle, just beyond the palisade, where justice is traditionally served, argued, screamed about. and sometimes settled by wrestling. You sigh, stretch your shoulders, comb your beard with one hand as instinct now, and trudge out barefoot into the cold, because apparently someone had to steal a goat again. This is the thing. No, not like a mysterious creature from a cursed forest, though you've met a few of those. The thing is the public assembly of the village, a messy, brilliant mixture of town hall, court case, roast session, and free therapy. Today, the case. A goat supposedly stolen, possibly wandered, maybe cursed, and absolutely the center of everyone's attention. The owner, a wiry man named Torvald, stands with his arms crossed and rage in his nostrils. The accused, a shapeshifter. Yes, that's what he said. He thinks the goat was stolen by a shapeshifter, a woman named Yosa, who lives on the edge of the woods and occasionally sells herbs that may or may not make your dreams smell like vinegar. Her eyes gleamed unnaturally. Torvald yells, flinging a stick for emphasis. And her shadow mooed. Yosa rolls her eyes so hard you hear it. Your goat is just a goat. You lost it. Check under your bed. Laughter erupts. Someone offers a bet on who will storm off first. The Jarl raises a hand, and the crowd settles into a buzz instead of a roar. Here's the thing. Viking justice is weird. There are laws, yes. Actual written down laws. Well, sung laws. Passed down through skalds and elders. You've heard them recited at midnight, in cadence, by a man holding a bowl of sour milk and a torch. Deeply dramatic, but those laws often vary from region to region. In some places, goat theft is a fine. In others, it's a duel. In a few wild spots, it's a poetry contest. Bring forth the bone tokens. Someone shouts. Yes, bone tokens. Because now we're drawing lots. Not to decide the case, mind you, but to determine who gets to speak next. Justice in Viking society often involved chance, the gods, and a deep tolerance for yelling. Yosa wins the draw. She steps forward, lifts her cloak dramatically. How does everyone here have such flair? And speaks. Torvald's goat is under his bed. It climbed there during the thunderstorm. I saw it. You were watching my house. No. I was watching the sky. Your house is just in the way. A man in the back shouts. I saw the goat eating his shoes yesterday. And suddenly the court has a witness. Everyone murmurs. The goat, of course, is present, chewing softly on someone's mitten. The Jarl stands. He's tired. His boots are damp. His beard is still lopsided from last week's feast. He squints at both parties and says the final judgment, Torvald, your goat is very stupid. Yosa, your herbs are confusing. Neither of you wins. The goat goes free. The goat bleats. Everyone cheers. Someone throws a cabbage. You clap, because honestly, this is the most entertaining litigation you've ever seen. Now, if you're thinking that Viking law is all goats and herb women, think again. Some trials are deadly serious. Theft of weapons could mean exile or even death. Adultery might lead to disfigurement. There's a record of one man whose beard was burned off while tied to a tree, which frankly sounds like something Odin came up with on a spicy day. And then there's trial by combat, which is exactly what it sounds like. Two people fight, and the gods supposedly favor the righteous. Historians still argue whether this was truly about divine justice, or just a really good excuse to punch someone you already hated. You've seen it once. Two brothers fighting over land. One with a sword, the other with a fish spear. It was tragic, dramatic, and ended with both of them falling into a swamp. The land went to their sister, who promptly sold it and moved to Iceland. Speaking of which, banishment. A harsh punishment, but oddly common. If you crossed too many lines, you were declared outlawed. That meant no protection, no home, no family. Just the wild, and whoever wanted to come collect your head. But even everyday annoyances have their rules. Insult someone's honor. You owe them silver, or they get to insult your mother. Damage a neighbor's fence. You fix it, and then they get to lecture you about it forever. Borrow a tunic, and return it stained with mysterious soup. You might be forced to wear a pig's tail for a week. Public shame is very effective. There's even a recorded punishment where a woman was made to sing her crimes out loud in a song she wrote herself. That's peak Viking drama. Imagine accidentally poisoning your in-laws and then having to debut a musical number about it. But despite the chaos, Viking justice worked. Sort of. Kind of. Enough. It was about balance. Restoration. Letting the community have its say through shouting, storytelling, and the occasional interpretive chicken dance. Okay, not officially, but it has happened. You find yourself pulled into a smaller dispute next. A man claims his neighbor's sheep gave him a dirty look. The neighbor says he looks dirty, and now everyone's involved. You ask to be a witness. You weren't there. You say something poetic about sheep and forgiveness. Everyone nods, impressed. You might have a future in politics. By midday, the crowd has dispersed. Yusa sells 3 bundles of herbs that may or may not cause visions. The goat is now following a small child who swears she can speak to animals. Torvald sulks into his stew. You return to your chores, pausing occasionally to shake your head at humanity. Justice has been served, or at least marinated. You feel oddly satisfied. Later that night, you sit by the fire, carving a new comb. This one has a tiny goat engraved on the handle. For memory. You wake to the sound of silence. Not the heavy, ominous kind that happens before a raid. Not the tense kind that means someone's lost a sword or a pig or both. No, this is the thick, snow-muffled hush of winter morning. Even the goats are asleep. And Snorri only snores when he dreams of haystorms, which he apparently is not. You sit up slowly, bones creaking like an old longship. Your beard feels stiff with frost, your breath curls like smoke in the cold air, and the fire in the hearth is nothing but ghostly embers. The longhouse is still. Peaceful. You wrap your cloak tighter, shuffle to the door, and step outside into a world turned silver. Snow blankets the village, smoothing every rough edge. The trees are white towers. The roofs sag under powder. Smoke drifts upward in lazy, vertical lines. You take a deep breath of the freezing air. Your nose immediately regrets it. It's one of those days, the ones that whisper in your ear, slow down. No battles. No blood feuds. No suspicious mushrooms. Just being. You watch a raven hop from one snowy fence post to another. It cocks its head at you like it knows something you don't. Maybe it does. You nod. It flies away. Of course it does. You go about your morning, feeding the animals, chopping wood, badly, accidentally stepping into a snowdrift that goes up to your thigh. John laughs at you from his porch. You throw a snowball at him. He throws an entire log at you. Balance. Later, you're summoned to help with something a roof caved in under the snow. You spend hours lifting beams, brushing snow off the hearthstones, and trying not to fall off the icy ladder. It's work. But it's the kind of work that reminds you you're alive, that your arms have purpose, that your community doesn't just fight and feast, it builds. But around midday, a shadow creeps in. An old man collapses outside the longhouse, just drops, his skin pale, eyes clouded. Someone runs for the healer. Others carry him to a bench, muttering prayers to Odin, Freyja, Hel, anyone who'll listen. You kneel beside him, take his hand. It's cold. He looks up at you, blinking. It's time, he says simply. I saw my wife last night. You nod. There's nothing else to do. You sit with him, quietly. No one dies alone here if they can help it. An hour later, he slips away. Peaceful still. Everyone gathers. There's no wailing, no panic. Just a long, collective sigh. Someone begins a soft song. Someone else starts carving the funeral boat. This is how it goes. Sometimes you fall in battle. Sometimes you slip on ice and break your neck. Sometimes you simply grow old. Dying isn't feared. Being forgotten is. Which is why you help craft his story that night. You stand in the center of the hall, lift your cup, and speak. Hay was strong. He once carried 2 sheep and a pig up a hill during a storm, because someone dared him. He laughed like thunder. He gave me this calm. You hold it up, worn, simple. People nod. Tears shine in the firelight. His family thanks you. You sit down beside the hearth again. You feel older, wiser, slightly frostbitten in one toe. The snow outside continues to fall, soft as whispers. It's strange. You've raided, you've boasted, you've broken ribs and laws, and someone's turnip barrel once by accident. You've seen berserkers scream into battle and watched men drop dead from spoiled eel. But this quiet moment of remembrance feels like the most sacred thing you've done. You step outside later, watching the sky. The stars are bright. The northern lights ripple green and violet across the blackness. You whisper a prayer to the old gods, not for victory, not for glory, just for a good end, because here's the truth no one tells you, not everyone dies a warrior. Some die quietly in the snow, some die of a tooth infection. Some die during a raid, slipping on seaweed and hitting their head on a rock shaped like a duck. Some die at home, surrounded by goats and love. And no matter how you go, if someone remembers your laugh, your beard, the way you carved comes better than anyone in the Fjord, you've won. Historians still argue whether Vikings truly believed in Valhalla as a literal place or more as a poetic idea. Some say it was a metaphor for honor. Others insist it was real. A great hall beyond this life, where warriors drank forever beneath golden chandeliers. You don't care. You just hope there's soup. You climb into your bedroll, Snorri curling up beside you. You sigh deeply. The world creaks and breathes around you. Someone sings a lullaby in the distance, soft, in Old Norse. You can't make out the words, but you understand the meaning. You are home. You close your eyes. You dream of ships, of stars, of silver snow, of your name, whispered by someone far in the future, reading this story and smiling. And that is enough. Wind, down 300 words. Now the longhouse is quiet again. The fire's glow has softened to a gentle ember. Outside, the snow continues to fall, hushed and slow, like even the sky is ready to rest. You're warm beneath your furs, the gentle scratch of wool against your skin, the faint scent of pine smoke in the air. The sounds of the village have faded into dreamland. No more shouting, no more clanging swords or angry chickens. Just the soft rustle of straw, the sleepy grunt of a distant goat, and the calm, slow breath of people who lived hard and slept harder. Your body feels heavy in the best way. Your shoulders, sore from axes and stories, and everything in between, finally loosen. Your fingers twitch once, then still. You can almost hear the beat of the oars again, far off, steady, like a lullaby. And maybe you dream of the long ship gliding across silver seas, of mist-wrapped islands, of stars that shimmer with old gods' laughter. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just rest, knowing that your beard was combed, your blade was ready, and your name, your story, became part of something greater. Tomorrow will come. More snow, more chores, maybe another court case involving livestock and magic. But for now you sleep. And somewhere across time, someone still remembers the warrior with the crooked smile, the perfect calm, and the heart that beat like a war drum. Good night, my friend.